After graduation, life didn't unfold with fireworks or epic background music like in the movies. It opened with a welcome email for new employees, an office access card, and a Monday morning where I stood in front of the mirror, tying my tie, wondering, so, have I really turned the page to a new chapter? I moved to Chicago 2 weeks after graduation. The city was vast, windy, and indifferent to newcomers. Phoenix saw me off at the airport with a hug longer than usual, his hands gripping my back as if trying to etch my shape into his memory. He'd been in New York for nearly a month, starting his graduate program, living in a small apartment overlooking the brick wall of the building across the street. "Call me when you get there," he said, forehead touching mine amid the airport announcements. "Always," I replied, and this time, I didn't feel scared saying words that implied a future. My first job was at a nonprofit organization focused on education. The office was on the 6th floor, with windows overlooking the river, a small desk with a cactus someone had left behind. On the first day, I learned how to brew coffee to my boss's taste, learned everyone's names, learned how to pretend I knew what I was doing. At lunch, I ate a cold sandwich and texted Phoenix a photo of the gray, silent river. "Chicago isn't like New York," I wrote. "New York isn't like you," he replied with a smiling emoji. In the evenings, when I returned to the apartment I shared with 2 strangers, I dropped my backpack, opened the window to let the wind rush in, and felt empty in a very adult way. No more dorms, no more late-night libraries, no more just crossing the lawn to meet Phoenix. Everything now had to be scheduled. We video called almost every night, sometimes just 15 minutes between 2 emotionally time zone shifted schedules. Phoenix usually called from the corner of his dining table, yellow light casting on his slightly thinner face from staying up late. I told him about colleagues who talked too fast, about endless meaningless meetings. He told me about the darkroom, about the first photos that got nods from his professors. There were nights when we didn't say much. We just left the screen on, each doing our own work. I typed reports, Phoenix edited photos. Occasionally, he'd look up and smile. "Hey, you still there?" "I am," I'd reply, and that answer mattered more than I ever thought. But growing up isn't just learning to love through a screen. It's also learning to face the voids that love can't fill right away. One Friday evening, after my first week of work, colleagues invited me out for drinks. I accepted because I didn't want to be the guy who always went home early. The bar was noisy, with green and red lights, music so loud you had to lean in close to hear. A girl in the group asked, "Isn't your boyfriend here?" A simple question, no malice. It took me half a second to answer, "He's in New York." No one made a big deal. But when I got home, I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking of Phoenix. In his city, was he answering similar questions? Did he get tired of explaining, or worse, of not explaining? I called him, even though it was nearly midnight. Phoenix answered after the 3rd ring. "What's up?" he asked, voice sleepy. "I just miss you," I said, honest enough to surprise myself. He chuckled softly. "Come here," he said jokingly. "I'm seriously thinking about it," I replied, and the silence stretched long enough for me to know he was thinking too. The first weekend of the month, Phoenix flew to Chicago. The flight was short, but it felt like crossing an ocean. I picked him up at the airport, standing amid the crowd, heart racing like the first time we met. When I saw him, backpack on his shoulder, hair tousled by the wind, everything else blurred. We hugged right there, ignoring the stairs. My apartment was cramped, but enough for 2. We cooked clumsily, poured cheap red wine into big glasses, sat on the floor because we hadn't bought a table yet. That night, when everything was quiet, Phoenix lay beside me, his hand drawing invisible lines on my chest. "We're doing it," he whispered. "Doing what?" "Loving each other without school sheltering us." I turned to look at him. In the dim light, Phoenix was no longer the freshman I met. He was a man choosing me amid other choices. I kissed him, slow and deep, carrying all the pent-up longing from weeks apart. We made love unhurriedly, as if relearning each other's bodies in this new context. Intimacy now wasn't discovery. It was confirmation. I'm here. I choose you. The next morning, we drank coffee by the window, watching the city wake up. Phoenix rested his head on my shoulder. Caden, he said, this is just the beginning. I nodded. I knew he was right. After graduation, love doesn't end. It becomes more real, harder. After that first visit, my life split into two distinct rhythms. Days with Phoenix and days with just the void named after him. When he returned to New York, the small apartment became unnaturally quiet. Half-drunk wine glasses, bedsheets still smelling of his favorite soap, and the empty coat hook next to mine reminded me this wasn't our home. Yet, I threw myself into work more than necessary. Arriving early, leaving late, taking on extra projects, learning to say yes to things that exhausted me. Colleagues praised my diligence. My boss trusted me with tasks. But on the train home alone, I still reflexively opened my phone to search for Phoenix's name. He was busier than me. Grad school wasn't like undergrad. It demanded everything at once. Creativity, competition, and self-doubt. Some nights he called me near dawn, eyes red from editing photos until they blurred. I'm not sure I'm good enough, he'd say, voice low. I wanted to be there, brew him coffee, put my hand on his shoulder. But all I could do was say, you're always good, even when you forget it. Distance taught us a new way to argue. No yelling, no slamming doors. Just curt texts, calls ending earlier than usual. One night, I texted, you forgot to call. Phoenix replied after 2 hours. Sorry, in the darkroom. I typed and deleted and typed. Finally sent. I feel like I'm behind everything else. The message showed seen for a while before he called back. Caden, Phoenix said, not defensive. I'm not leaving you behind. I'm just trying to stand firm here. I know, I replied, realizing it was more truth than accusation. I just need to know I'm still important. He exhaled. You always are. We learned to schedule love. Sounded dry but necessary. Long calls on Wednesdays, watching movies together on Sundays even in different cities. Small things kept us connected when everything else stretched us thin. Fall came quickly to Chicago, sharp winds and thick golden leaves on the sidewalks. I started getting used to the rhythm. Work in the mornings, simple cooking in the evenings, laundry and cleaning on weekends. One afternoon, while folding shirts, I realized I was leaving a drawer empty. For Phoenix. The thought made me pause for a few seconds, heart racing. I hadn't told him, but my body had decided first. In October, Phoenix invited me to New York for his first group exhibition. I flew out Friday night, arriving at his shared apartment. Cramped more than I imagined, but flooded with light from large windows. He hugged me at the door, the city smell clinging to his coat. The exhibition was in a repurposed industrial space, white walls, high ceilings. Phoenix's photos hung in the corner, lit just enough to highlight the subtle details. I stood looking, not as a spectator, but as someone who knew the story behind each frame. When someone asked, "Your boyfriend?" Phoenix glanced at me for a second, brief but clear, then nodded. Yeah, that word echoed in me all night. We celebrated with big slices of pizza and cheap beer. On the way home, Phoenix held my hand amid the crowd. No fanfare, no fear. I realized New York made him braver in the way Chicago made me calmer. We balanced each other as we always had. That night, we made love on the small bed, slowly, carrying both exhaustion and happiness. Phoenix whispered, "Thanks for coming." I kissed him, answering with actions more than words. Intimacy now wasn't just desire, it was where we shed our outer roles. But the future didn't pause for us to savor it long. Sunday morning, over coffee, Phoenix said, "Next year, I might have to intern in LA." The words fell lightly but spread wide. I nodded, not panicking. "If that's what you want." He looked at me, searching. "What about you?" "I'm thinking of applying to transfer to our organization's New York branch," I said, heart racing because it was the first time I'd said it aloud. "Not because of you." "Well, not just because of you." Phoenix smiled. "I like that answer. We didn't make grand promises. just noted that every decision from now on would account for 2 people. No blind sacrifices, no silent abandonments. When I flew back to Chicago, the gray city welcomed me as usual. But I no longer felt like I was living 2 lives. I was building one slow, hard, but real. And in it, Phoenix wasn't a distant dream, but the person teaching me how to grow up. The decision to apply for the branch transfer didn't happen in a moment of bravery, but in a series of evenings sitting in front of my laptop, rereading old job emails, weighing stability against change. Chicago gave me a foundation, New York gave Phoenix a sky. I didn't want to be the lover standing on the sidelines, cheering from afar forever, nor did I want to lose myself just to be closer to him. I sent the email on a rainy evening, hands slightly trembling as I hit send. Phoenix was the first person I told. He didn't cheer, didn't promise. He just asked, "Are you sure?" I thought for a few seconds and replied, "Not completely, but I want to try." Phoenix nodded on the screen. That's enough. While waiting for a response, I kept living. Work got busier, responsibilities bigger. I started leading small projects, learning to speak in meetings without apologizing first. Some days I felt myself growing in unexpected ways, and I wanted Phoenix to witness it, not just hear about it. Distance was still there, sometimes stubborn. One night, Phoenix called with a strange voice. "Caden, I got rejected for the scholarship this semester." I heard him trying to stay calm. I didn't rush to comfort. I asked, "Do you want me to listen or give advice?" He laughed hoarsely. "Just listen." So I listened, about exhaustion, about feeling like he was chasing something that kept receding. When he went quiet, I said, "You're not lesser because of one email. You're just on a long road." He exhaled. "Thanks for not fixing me." We learned something important. We don't always need to save each other. Sometimes just being there without judgment is enough. December arrived, bringing snow and invitations home for the holidays. My family in the Midwest, conservative in a silent way. Phoenix asked, "Do you want me to come with?" I considered, then shook my head. "Not this year." Saying it hurt, but it was true. Phoenix held my hand through the screen. "When you're ready, I'll be there. No blam. Just patience." We met in Chicago for Christmas. Phoenix flew in, bringing a thicker coat and New York stories. On a snowy night, we walked along the river, breaths turning to mist. "Do you ever get tired of waiting?" I asked, surprising myself with the fear. Phoenix stopped, looked at me. "Yes, but I'm not waiting aimlessly. I'm walking with you." That sentence made me feel lighter. After New Year's, the response email came. I got an interview for the position in New York. I walked into the meeting room with an unusual calm, answering about motivations, about why the move. I didn't say Phoenix as the only reason. I talked about the city, the challenges, about wanting to expand my work's impact. When I left the building, I called him. "Done. How are you?" "I'm okay. Whatever the outcome." The result came 2 weeks later. Accepted. I read the email 3 times to make sure I wasn't mistaken. Then I sat on the floor, leaning against the chair, smiling to myself. I called Phoenix. He answered right away. "Why do you sound weird?" "I got the transfer." He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Welcome to New York." His voice cracked with joy. We didn't celebrate with a big party. Just a dinner over the screen, cooking at the same time, opening wine together. "We're doing this," Phoenix said. "Yeah," I replied. "And I'm scared." He laughed. "Me too." The move happened quickly and exhaustingly. I sold some stuff, packed memories. On the day I left Chicago, I stood looking at the empty room, thanking the city for giving me the person I loved and the person I was becoming. New York welcomed me with horns and a pace that waited for no one. Phoenix waited for me at the station, hugging me amid the crowd. "Home," he said, and this time I believed it. We didn't move in together right away. I rented a small room near work. Phoenix stayed in his old apartment. We wanted to be sure. No rushing because of emotions. But weekends we spent more together than not. Cooking, small arguments about who hogged the bathroom, reconciling with kisses. One late night, Lying on the living room floor, Phoenix asked, "Caden, what do you think about us in 2 years?" I stared at the ceiling, thinking about the long road. "I think, if we still choose each other when tired, when busy, when scared, then we'll be okay." Phoenix leaned over and kissed me. "I choose. And so do I." New York didn't give anyone time to adjust. It pulled me into its rhythm with 6 a.m. horns, crowded elevators smelling of coffee, the feeling that everyone was heading somewhere more important than you. The first weeks, I was so tired I just wanted to collapse into bed after work. Phoenix noticed it before I could say, "You don't need to prove anything," he said one evening, when I apologized for canceling dinner. "New York isn't going anywhere." I smiled faintly, "But I feel like I'm about to run away." We still weren't living together, but the boundaries blurred. I left my toothbrush at his place, he left his hoodie at mine. Mornings I woke up beside Phoenix before work gave me a strange sense of stability, like an anchor in a stormy sea. We learned to divide time. Tuesday nights mine, Thursday nights his, weekends for us. But when two people are ambitious and tired, collisions are inevitable. Our first big fight happened on a very ordinary evening. I came home late, head full of unanswered emails. Phoenix was cooking, kitchen messy. He said something about me forgetting to reply to his text from noon. I snapped back sharper than needed. "I can't always prioritize you." The words hung in the small kitchen. Phoenix turned off the stove. "I'm not asking for priority," he said slowly. "I'm asking for presence." "I'm here," I reflexed. "No." He looked straight at me. "You're bringing the whole office home." Heavy silence. I wanted to defend, to list what I was doing for our future. But what Phoenix needed wasn't logic. I exhaled, sat down.
I'm sorry.
"I'm scared if I slow down, I'll be left behind." Phoenix softened. "We're not a race." We ate a late, cold dinner, but it was good. That night, we didn't make up with sex. We talked about boundaries, signals for needing space, reminding each other more gently. I realized growing in love isn't avoiding fights, but learning to fight without hurting. Spring came with early blooms and new emails. Phoenix got accepted for a summer internship in LA. I saw the light in his eyes when he told me, and the familiar worry returned. 3 months, he said. Far again. I nodded. This time it's different. We've done it. We decided to move in together before he left, not because of the challenge, but for convenience and desire. The new apartment was smaller than our 2 old ones combined, but enough for 2. We moved in over a rainy weekend. Phoenix stuck photos on the walls. I assembled shelves. When the bed was set up, Phoenix sat down, patted it. Our home. I felt my throat tighten. Living together exposed little things. His late-night habits, my need for morning quiet. But it also brought beautiful ordinary moments. Brewing coffee for each other, leaving notes, good luck, Sunday afternoon naps together. The day Phoenix flew out, I took him to the airport. This time, no tears, just a tight hug and, text me when you land. Always, he replied, echoing words we'd said at another airport another year. I returned to an emptier apartment, but not empty. There were call schedules, plans, trust. LA took Phoenix far in a different way. He was busy, but happy. So was I, in my own way. We kept our Sunday night habit unchanged. Once, I attended a work event, standing in a room full of strangers, and realized I no longer felt lost. I had a place to return to. 3 months passed quickly. Phoenix returned with tan skin and new stories. We hugged at the door, no need for words. That night, we made love like people who'd waited long enough. Unrushed. One evening after, while washing dishes, Phoenix said casually, Caden, have you ever thought about long-term? I turned off the water, turned around. Specifically? Not right now, he smiled. But like, same city, same plans, same home. I looked at the small kitchen, mismatched mugs, his hoodie draped over the chair. I'm already living in it, I said. Phoenix stepped over and hugged me from behind. Then good. Life continued to test us. Work pressured more, bigger decisions loomed. But in crowded New York, Phoenix and I were learning to choose each other every day. Imperfect, not easy, but real. And I started to believe that might be enough. Fall in New York made everything look like a promise. Golden leaves covered sidewalks, crisp air making people want to slow down. I realized Phoenix and I were slowing too, not from lack of drive, but from starting to choose our pace. My job took a new turn. I was offered to lead a big project. A rare opportunity, meaning more hours, more responsibility. I told Phoenix that night, not waiting until fatigue warped the words. He listened, didn't interrupt. "What do you want?" he asked. A simple but hard question. "I want to try," I said. "But I don't want to lose us." Phoenix nodded. "Then set rules. So work doesn't swallow you whole." We wrote down small things. No phones at the dinner table. Friday night's hours. If one sees the other drifting, say it right away. No waiting for annoyance. I entered the project with cautious excitement. There were late nights, but I learned to knock on the bedroom door lighter, climb into bed without waking Phoenix. Mornings he brewed coffee for me, left the mug by the table with a note. "Breathe." I kept them in a drawer. Then Phoenix's turn. He got a long-term job offer, not LA, but Seattle. A small but bold production company. The right opportunity, right time. But Seattle wasn't New York, not where I'd just rooted. We sat on the living room floor, backs against the sofa we hadn't bought yet. "I don't want to make you leave what you're building," Phoenix said. I stayed silent, listening to the streetcars. "And I don't want you to stay just for me," I replied. Two statements hung like two banks of a river. We gave ourselves time. No deciding in emotion. We mapped it out. My project deadline, his probation period, costs, flights, distance. It sounded dry, but that specificity made the fear less vague. In that time, we lived as if no countdown. Went to exhibitions, cooked for friends, strolled Central Park on Sunday mornings. One night, in bed, Phoenix asked, "If one of us has to leave the city, who do you think it should be?" I turned to him in the golden light. "I don't think that way anymore," I said. "I think, wherever we go, we're still us." In the end, the decision came lighter than I imagined. My project hit milestones early. The company allowed hybrid work for 6 months. Phoenix accepted Seattle with a delayed start. We chose Seattle, not abandoning New York, but expanding our lives. This move was different. No rush, no fear. We sold stuff, kept memory-laden things. I took down the first photo Phoenix had stuck on the wall, carefully wrapped it. "Bring it along," he said. Seattle welcomed us with fine rain and wet wood smell. The new apartment overlooked the lake, quieter than I was used to. It took me weeks to find rhythm, to accept that quiet wasn't emptiness. Phoenix was like a fish in water. He worked late, came home telling stories with bright eyes. I learned to listen without comparing. There were nights I missed New York achingly. I said it. Phoenix didn't tell me to be stronger. He held my hand, pulled me for a walk in the rain. "We can miss and still be here," he said. I felt my heart soften. One evening, we sat on the balcony, drinking cheap wine. Phoenix turned to me, voice more serious than usual. "Caden, I want to ask you something. Not a promise, not a deadline. Just a direction." I looked at him. "I want to build a life with you, whatever it looks like." I didn't answer right away. I thought about airports, rooms, late-night calls. Thought about choosing each other daily. "Me too," I said. Phoenix exhaled, as if setting down a heavy weight. We didn't get engaged, didn't do anything grand. We bought a proper dining table. We invited friends over. We argued about curtain colors. We made love in long silences. And in that normalcy, I understood. Happiness isn't a noisy destination. It's a chain of quiet choices, made with the one you love. Winter in Seattle came slow but stayed long. Gray skies, drizzling rain like a hard-to-break habit. I learned to carry a coat always, brew stronger coffee, not fight the sluggish days. Phoenix called it season to think. I called it season to reflect. Hybrid work kept New York in my laptop, but left me floating. Some meetings I spoke fluently, decisively, the Caden of the sleepless city. But when I shut it off, The apartment was quiet enough to hear the clock. I started wondering, where was I heading, or just keeping busy? Phoenix noticed the change before me. One evening, he placed his hand on my wrist as I typed emails after dinner. "Stop for a bit," he said. "Tell me what you're thinking." I exhaled. "I'm scared of becoming someone in between, not belonging anywhere." Phoenix nodded as if he'd guessed. "In between is a place," he said. "Just few dare to stay." We decided to create a new rhythm. I signed up for a writing class on Wednesday nights, something I'd always postponed as impractical. Phoenix joined a weekend running group. We met new people, told our stories with calmer voices, no longer introducing each other by events, but by lives. Then came a hiccup, small but disruptive. My company restructured. My position didn't vanish, but the promotion path blurred. I came home with a jumbled mind. Phoenix was making soup. I told him, trying to keep my voice normal. He set the spoon down, hugged me. "You don't have to decide tonight," he said. "We have time." That night I didn't sleep. I thought about staying, about turning elsewhere. Next morning, I told Phoenix what I'd hidden. "I want to try freelancing. At least a year." He looked at me, silent, then smiled faintly. "I've been waiting for you to say that." "You're not worried?" "Yes," he answered honestly. "But I trust you. And I trust we'll speak up if scared." We planned like two adults. Emergency fund, timeline, evaluation points. Not romantic, but very loving. I submitted my resignation. Last day, I closed the laptop, feeling like stepping out of a familiar room with the door closing behind. The first freelance months weren't free. I worried, doubted, compared. Some days I wrote 3 pages, some not a line. Phoenix was a quiet anchor, no pushing, no rescuing. He just asked, "What kind thing did you do for yourself today?" That question gradually changed how I viewed success. We started talking future more concretely. Not wedding yet, but insurance, aging parents, places to settle. One evening, shoveling snow from the porch, Phoenix said, "I've thought about adopting, not soon, but someday." I froze. The idea made my heart race. "I've thought too," I admitted. We looked at each other, laughed. No promises, just acknowledging desires. Spring returned. Seattle greener, lighter. I got my first client, small but mine. Phoenix got promoted. We celebrated with pizza and beer. "We're doing it," he said, clinking cans. I believed him. One weekend we visited New York. The city welcomed with familiar noise. I walked old streets, felt I no longer belonged, but no pain. Phoenix held my hand, pulled me across. "Where's our home?" he asked. I thought a second. "Where we stop long enough." Back in Seattle, we bought a sofa, symbolic decision. Moving it in, Phoenix joked, "Furniture-level commitment." I laughed. That night, on the new sofa, we talked nonsense and important things. I realized intimacy isn't in climaxes, but in the ability to stay still beside each other. Life didn't suddenly ease. Some days I doubted my choices. Some Phoenix was too tired to talk. But we'd learned to return, with the right question, long enough silence, a hug without reason. If someone asked what mature love looks like, I'd say, it looks like 2 people shoveling snow together in silence, knowing spring will come, and whether it does or not, they're there, side by side. That summer came to Seattle more unexpectedly than usual. Blue skies, lingering sun, lake reflecting light making me squint from the balcony. I realized I'd stopped counting time by big milestones. My life with Phoenix wasn't divided by before and after, but by very ordinary days, yet full. I found rhythm in freelancing. Not dazzling success, but steady. Regular clients. Mornings writing in a familiar cafe where the barista knew my name. Phoenix teased, "Neighborhood writer." I shrugged, smiled. For the first time, I wasn't ashamed saying what I did. We hosted a small backyard barbecue for friends. Laughter, chilled beer, music just loud enough. I stood watching Phoenix chat, hands waving as he told stories, infectious smile. Suddenly I thought, I love this person in a very peaceful way. That evening, after guests left, we sat on the kitchen floor, finishing leftover salad. Phoenix rested his head on my shoulder. "Caden," he said, voice without jest, "are you happy?" The question stunned me. I didn't answer right away. I thought about past years, always asking when I'd be happy. And I realized I no longer asked that. "Yes," I said. "Not perfect kind, but the right kind." Phoenix was quiet a while. Then he stood, went to the bedroom. I heard a drawer open. He returned, holding a small box. "No kneeling, no drama." He just sat facing me, placed the box between us. "We said no big deal," he said. "And I still think so. But I want this official in our way." My heart pounded, but not panicked. Just warmth spreading in my chest. I opened the box. Inside were 2 simple rings, no stones. "Not a promise for everything," Phoenix continued. "Just a promise that when things change, we'll still choose to be honest with each other." My eyes stung. "You know I'm not good with vows," I whispered. "Then don't vow," he smiled. "Just stay." I nodded. "I'll stay." We put the rings on each other in the messy kitchen, hands trembling slightly. No aplausos, no fireworks. But I'd never felt a moment so complete. We didn't post online right away, just called close ones. My mom cried on the phone. Phoenix's mom was silent a few seconds, then said, "You two remember to eat properly." I laughed, feeling family closer. The following months flowed like a calm stream. We discussed moving to a bigger house in a few years. We met a counselor for future adoption prep. Just learning, no rush. We kept arguing over small things and making up faster. One night, lying beside each other, Phoenix asked, "If we went back to the first day after graduation, would you think we'd end up here?" I stared at the ceiling, remembering that anxious boy. "No," I said honestly. "But I also wouldn't dare dream this. And maybe that's why it happened. Our love didn't save anyone. It didn't change us into others. It just allowed us to become ourselves, slowly, without apology." Some mornings I woke before Phoenix, watched him sleep, and felt grateful for the small choices that led us here. Replying to a text, staying an extra day, voicing fears, not running. If you asked what this story is about, I wouldn't say destiny. I'd say it's about patience. About 2 American guys, raised in different cities, carrying their own scars, who learned to place their lives side by side. Not overlapping, not overshadowing. And if there's one thing I'm sure of, it's this: love isn't finding someone perfect to lean on. It's finding someone willing to sit with you on the kitchen floor, amid very ordinary days, and say, "We're okay." And that's enough. And